There are some professions in life that I value most. And when I was growing up, I remember writing essays. What do you want to be when you grow up? And one of my essays, I want to be a teacher. And that profession never changed until I finished.
Mr. Henrich Sangha was born in Yanga, Zimbabwe in 1966 in a family of 7 children. He was educated at Sabvure Primary School, Kute and Chitakatira High School. He studied mathematics and computer programming in Cuba. Mr. Henrich Sangha is a born-again Christian whose life is grounded in Christian principle of service to others, particularly those who are most vulnerable in society. His religious beliefs and his upbringing engendered in him a compassionate outlook on those he viewed as undeserved groups in society. He took up the mantle of a life of selfless service at a young age. In 1982, while still in high school, Mr. Sangha formed a tutorial group and called it Success in Students' Academic Work. Through this group, he assisted fellow students in mathematics, sacrificing both free time and weekends to teach his peers. He also recognized that education was the way out of a cycle of poverty for the improvement of these undeserved communities. To this end, he formed MWANA Trust Zimbabwe in 2006 in order to assist orphans in Zimbabwe and to provide educational resources for them in rural schools in Manicaland Province, Zimbabwe. Being an educator at heart, Mr. Sangha is passionate about nurturing young minds as the basis and foundation for the future leadership in Africa.
I personally hated maths, except for the days Mr. Sangha would come into our house at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning for extra lessons.
With his lovely uniform on, his church uniform.
Always like socks perfectly up to his knees,
Right.
And he always looked so smart. One would think, what time did he leave home, right?
If I could use one word to describe him, I would use impactful, because he had an impact on my education in a subject that I was pretty weak at, and as a result of him, giving me extra lessons, I came 5th in my class. That was big. I never came 5th again, but yeah, it was quite an achievement, and it wouldn't have been possible without his work and his dedication.
I would describe him as smart on the outside, because smart. Yeah, I don't know translator. That means he is always smart, like he puts himself together well, and also smart inside, like he's very intellectual. And for me, that's what made me buy into his extra lessons and why they worked for me as well, which is why I have an O level in maths, because he was so smart that when he was giving us assignments and homework, he wouldn't call it homework, he would call it take home entertainment. And I remember my big brother and I would always laugh about that, saying this guy is trying to make maths sound cool, but somehow he made it work. And those of us that have worked with him, I mean, O-levels would never have happened for me. O-level maths would never have happened if it wasn't for him.
To really describe Mr. Sangha, I would say he is a man who is he is principled. He is destined he is a destined history maker who seeks to leave this world different from the time we found it. We appreciate the services that he is giving the disadvantaged students, because he is contributing to the mandate of our university, which is to produce highly acclaimed graduates, and in that respect, he is creating history, because the students are not dropping out, because they are getting the much needed financial support given their backgrounds. I would also describe Mr. Sangha as empathetic in his capacity as one of our major philanthropists.
I'm a sister in charge at Barenyato Hospital. I know Mr. Henrich Sangha from 1991. That was like 23 years ago. He was my teacher, and he brought out the best in me. He changed my attitude towards maths. I didn't like maths, and he was there to guide us. And I feel much honored to be chosen among hundreds of students whom he was teaching at Morgan High School. He is one of the best teachers. And I think he's also one of the reasons why I am who I am today. He was such a great teacher. He inspired us. We didn't like mathematics. We thought during this time it was a time to chat, to talk to friends. But his attitude and his dedication towards his job changed all this. And we ended up looking for him for extra lessons, ask him to help us more and more, even after school. And up to now, I still communicate with him. If I have any problems, whether it's social, it's school, he's always ready to help.
I'd like to say, for him, that's great respect I have for him and for the message that he's sending out to everyone in the Zimbabwean community, selfless message, willing to lay down his life for other people, willing to lay down his life to make sure that children are safe.
That's a valid point because he came and he supported me during today's show.
Yes.
The Real Talk show, he was there and he waited, determination, and he's such an inspiration. He's supportive.
Yeah, very supportive. Yeah, and he'll give himself for somebody else to be comfortable, even if it means he has to sleep on the floor. I was talking to him and he was telling me how sometimes it just takes a sleeping bag and he'll sleep in classrooms and goes around visiting all the orphans. Not a lot of Zimbabweans do that. If they do, they've got to say tell the whole world and ask for money.
Honestly speaking, I think he's the only one who's doing that at the moment. Some people are doing that. They can go and visit orphans, but they leave and go to the
hotels.
Yes.
But he stays with them. I think that is love to a greater degree. Something that we've never seen. Very, very inspiring.
He's a father to more than 750. That's like a massive thing.
So that sums up Mr. Chitsenga.
Mr. Chitsenga taught me O and A-level maths. To me, Mr. Chitsenga was more than just a teacher. He was a mentor. He taught me about life. He taught me about perseverance, and he taught me about relationships. The way we related was more than how a student and a teacher just relate. And if you look at Mr. Chitsenga now, he has kept very good and productive relationships with a number of his students.
So one of the things that really impresses me about Henry is how far he has come from a rural peasant background through training and qualification of all sorts, including in Cuba, and to end up as he is, as such a prominent and well-revered maths teacher in Britain, and also a philanthropist of such proportions and such note.
Henrich Chitsenga is a great example, and you can compare him to the son Timothy that Apostle Paul had. He does great things. He's just brought a few equipment to Parenyatwa Hospital. He's thinking of the children in Parenyatwa pediatric ward, and he's doing his best. Every amount of money that he has, he puts it to use for other people and not for himself. And I think he's a great philanthropist. His heart and his passion is with helping other people.
Mr. Chitsenga, because of his dedication, it also translated in the same way I handle my day-to-day life. I'm also dedicated to what I do, and even in teaching and training and helping others who are less fortunate. So I'd like to emulate his compassion and his dedication.
When I was doing my A-levels, my school didn't offer lessons for the further maths course. Henry gave me one-on-one tutorials in his spare time so I could prepare for the exams. This allowed me to get a place I wanted at university and start a PhD in particle physics. This is just an example of Henry's generosity and passion to help his students succeed. He's an inspiration.
I know he's been an inspiring teacher because when I asked Ella, I asked her what is it that you like about Henry, what makes him a good teacher? And she says that he's passionate. He's passionate about the subject, but he's also passionate about the pupils. He actually cares whether they do well or whether they do badly.
A few years ago, 3 of our houses put on several events and raised, I think, a total of £35,000 to help build some classrooms in a school in Zimbabwe, and also to create some boreholes so that the children could have decent water, most important thing in Africa. I think it's very engaging for our pupils. Having raised the 35,000 in 3 houses, when Henry's charity was put forward for a vote as to what our charity would be last year, he was overwhelmingly the successful charity. Some of that was to do with the fact that we were already engaged with this charity. Some of it was to do with the fact that he is an enormously engaging man. His smile is one of the biggest smiles in Teddy's. And some of it was to do with the fact that it is a wonderful and a very important charity.
What I observed about Henry very early on is that he's 2 people. On the track and in competition, he's a ruthless competitor. He would weigh up his opponents, work out how to beat them and beat them. He was calculating, and I think this must be the maths teacher in him, calculating, very cool, very thoughtful, and always intent on winning. But there's a second Henry, which I discovered when I became involved in this philanthropic work with him, and that is a man who's driven by his faith and by an emotional response to the plight of children. And the children that he's focused on for many, many years now are the orphans of Zimbabwe, his home country. And his response to them is instant, it's compassionate, and it's absolutely without reserve or hesitation. He throws himself into working for them tirelessly, so much so that his own welfare is always put second place.
I want to say one final thing about Henry, and that is that he is never negative. He's never cast down by anything, and we have a lot of grey days here in England, and whenever Henry comes in, the day is never grey. It is always sunny. He brings a touch of Africa, of sun, of love, of warmth, of laughter to our grey northern skies, and it has been such a privilege always to have worked and known Henry.
He is involved in fundraising activities in which he encourages other young people to assist their peers who are in greater need than themselves. He assisted the students of Field House at St Edward's, Oxford, to raise funds to build and furnish a 2-classroom block and to drill a borehole at Sabvure Primary School, his alma mater. In 2008, Mr. Chitsenga raised money through the Africa Children's Fund, where he is one of the Board of Trustees, to build a kitchen at Mount Denjare Primary School. This school is located in Mutare, Zimbabwe, and more than 50% of its students are orphans. He managed to procure and ship 15 computers to the school. In 2009, Mr. Chitsenga founded the Henrich Chitsenga Prize for Outstanding Performance in Mathematics for students at Chitikatira and Kute High Schools in Nyanga, Zimbabwe. The prize consists of book vouchers, which are awarded in recognition of outstanding students in mathematics and those who have made considerable progress in their level. The award was created with the intention of promoting numeracy and a love for mathematics among the students, and also to improve the pass rates at these schools. Mr. Chitsenga recognizes the importance of mathematics in preparing these students to become participants in an ever more competitive world that reaches beyond the boundaries of their own country. Mr. Chitsenga is continually looking for opportunities to alleviate suffering and to advance the education of children who would otherwise have no opportunities availed to them. He finds innovative ways of marrying his passion for education and his vocation of service to the poor. His overarching mission is to leave the world a better place than he found it. He resides in the United Kingdom with his wife and 3 children.
Right, my children, my family. There are 2 people in your whole life who will genuinely celebrate your success. Who are the 2 people? Your beautiful mom,
Your beautiful dad.
your teachers. Your teachers. Those 2 people, your parents and your teachers, are the only 2 people who are going to genuinely celebrate your success. And the 2 people also want you to be better than themselves.
Teaches at an independent school in Oxford. He is also an avid runner, a record holder for Oxfordshire Country 200 meters masters.
If I was to describe Mr. Henrich Award in one word, he's kind. He's also a humanitarian. He's concerned about the well-being and welfare of the underprivileged, like us, the SACHO beneficiaries.
I can describe Mr. Chitsenga as a person who is humble, a man of God, a motivational speaker, an inspirational speaker.
Mr. Chitsenga is a generous man, a motivational man, an inspirational man. He have taught me how to work very hard at the school.
Mr. Henrich Award is a man of God. He's a philanthropist. He actually motivates people. He motivates us to work hard, to stay inspired, to stay academically influential.
Mr. Henrich Award is a man who is generous, who has got heartfelt love, who has got true benevolence and true philanthropism. He is also a man who shows his true love to everyone, and he's a man who is very humble.
Mr. Chitsenga is a very passionate teacher.
I can describe him in one sentence as a very humble person. And in one word, I just say humble.
Henrich Award is a passionate person. He loves people and he believes in leaving this world a better person. I believe we can see that through his work, that he helps other people from where they are to take them to another levels.
Henry is a free giver. I think his belief is that if you give, you receive more, not just to yourself, but to the community around you, and to make the world a better place through giving.
I would like to describe Mr. Chitsenga as the man who is so humble and who have got the vision towards the lives of the underprivileged.
As a philanthropist, he's a very compassionate guy. He reaches out to the underprivileged. He's one person who has an open heart, who is direct and straightforward.
In a world of considerable darkness, Henry is an angel of light who has brought love, to some of the poorest parts of the world and has planted fruitful seeds in some of the driest soils. And the word I would use to describe Henry is angelic.
There is one precious gift I am going to give you. A priceless gift which I'm going to give you is to love your mom. I'll love your mom. That's a gift. And it's also a gift to have a family like you. A loving family. Loving family.